Hello and welcome to another Disneyland Paris video. In this video, I'm going to bring you with me into Disneyland Park and share the journey on our third and fourth day spent at Disneyland. Make sure you catch my last videos where I take you with me on our first day at Disneyland Park and our one and only day at Walt Disney Studios. Upon first getting to the park on day 3, the first stop was for coffee and a bite to eat. We stopped at the Market House Delicatessen. Food here was served cafeteria style, and they offered breakfast sandwiches and a variety of pastries. This was actually my first introduction into a croque monsieur. It was essentially a grilled cheese with sliced ham or turkey, covered in more cheese, and toasted. This was so good, it made me forever rethink the way that I eat grilled cheese. I also had a chocolate chip muffin. This one was really dense, and it was tasty and a good way to fuel up for the morning. I just wish it had more chocolate chips. After grabbing a bite to eat, we were ready to take in some rides. We headed into the park itself, over to the right into Discoveryland. This is Paris's version of Tomorrowland. Our first ride of the day was Autopia. This ride was very similar to the other parks, not moving at a speedy pace, but giving you a really scenic ride. It's always fun to drive, or you can experience it the way that my husband likes to, by not steering it at all and letting the car guide itself on the track. Next up was Buzz Lightyear Laser Blast. This one is a consistent park staple. You board a car in an Omnimover style loading area, and you can rotate your ride vehicle with the overall goal to defeat Zurg with your laser gun. You get a score based on how accurate you are and how many targets you hit. I really like the interactive nature of this ride, and because it gives you a score, it incorporates a little bit of healthy competition as well. After Buzz Lightyear, we made our way back around the main square past the castle to Frontierland. Passing into Frontierland, I really liked the theming details that were added, making the transition between lands really smooth, just like you see in the other parks. When you pass the archway, you are immediately greeted with the decor of the next land. We explored Frontierland and took in the theming from the American Old West and the Western River expeditions. The attention to detail here was evident right away, such as the backdrops that mirrored the Old West buildings. They even had old lanterns and antlers that littered the roof. When you walk in, you're first greeted with Thunder Mesa. This is the main inspiration to the theming for Frontierland, and where the central characters such as Madame Leota, Beacon Joe, and Melanie Ravenswood take up residence. Thunder Mountain was unfortunately closed for renovation, which is a bummer because this is one of my favorites. We walked through Frontierland, passing by some of the main signature restaurants, taking note of where we might want to grab another bite to eat later on in the day. By this time, after walking around a lot, we were ready for something else to eat. We made our way past the riverboats and the shooting gallery to the Overland Trail Cafe for their specialty Dorito nachos. These started with a pile of Doritos covered in a spicy nacho sauce, salsa, and a large heaping pile of guacamole. These were tasty. The Doritos added a nice savory flavor over the plain chips, and the nice huge pile of fresh guacamole was really refreshing. The only thing I didn't like about these was that the guacamole was slightly frozen, containing a few ice crystals, but it was great as a midday snack to fuel us for more walking and more attractions. After a quick bite, we continued through Frontierland over to Phantom Manor, Paris's iteration of the Haunted Mansion. The experience at the start of the ride was very similar to the other parks, but the ride experience itself was really unique. The version here in Paris follows the story of the bride throughout the ride, accompanied by the infamous Hatbox Ghost. There are still some familiar ride staples such as Madame Leota and the ballroom scene. The graveyard here is also unique, filled with ghosts that match the land's theme, and you can also see the ghosts of Thunder Mesa. After a ride on Phantom Manor, we made our way past the castle over to Adventureland. On day 1, we walked through to take a look around and grab a bite here, but today we really explored all corners of this part of the park. As we walked through Adventureland, we encountered Adventure Island. This was a section of the park that was Peter Pan inspired, complete with a pirate ship and Skull Rock. This area reminded me a lot of the Peter Pan themed area in Fantasy Springs at Tokyo Disney Sea. The coolest part of this area of the park were caves that led you around Adventure Island. This created a dark and immersive attraction, having to find your way around while leading you through some dead ends and some dark corners. This led us to a rope bridge that takes you to the other side of the island. This was so realistic that it actually swung a bit, and it was a good chance to safely conquer your fear of heights. It winds you down through more caves, leading to a spectacular waterfall. Little details like this make this small space that much more charming. This is the area of the park where you can also find Pirates of the Caribbean and Indiana Jones tucked away in the corner. Even though the land was a bit smaller than the other parks and we were missing some of the signature attractions such as Jungle Cruise, I was again impressed with how much theming they were able to fit in the small space. After exploring this part of Adventureland, we made our way over to Fantasyland and into another archway, providing another seamless transition from one land to another. Fantasyland at Disneyland Paris was very reminiscent of Fantasyland at Disneyland in Anaheim. Here there were many of the signature attractions, such as It's a Small World and the Carousel as the signature focal points. Fantasyland has always been the most nostalgic for me. This was the area of Disneyland in Anaheim that I spent the most time in during my childhood years, so there were a lot of core memories that were built here. There are some unique differences, including Mr. Toad as a restaurant versus an attraction as it is in the other parks. And Alice in Wonderland wasn't a dark ride in Paris, but a really unique and fun walkthrough attraction. Here you navigate through a hedge maze, walking through Wonderland and encounter many of the main characters from the movie. You climb up to the top of a tower, and this gives you a really cool view of Fantasyland. Our first ride here for the day was Pinocchio. The ride experience here was very similar to the version that I remember in the other Disney parks, and is still always enjoyable as an adult. After riding Pinocchio, we made our way through Fantasyland, through the castle, and back out to Main Street for our dinner reservation at Walt's restaurant. We had made a reservation here in the app before we arrived at Disneyland, and this was our choice for our formal sit-down dining experience. This restaurant had an early 20th century theme, much like Main Street itself. And the restaurant honored Walt Disney and his life, and the decor had really unique pieces from the varied Disney classics. The restaurant offers a 3-course meal for €55 per person. This is a fixed menu, but it offers a few good choices for an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. I ordered the chicken pot pie appetizer, which was basically pot pie filling and an incredibly flaky croissant. For dinner, I chose the farmhouse chicken. This one came with a slightly spicy and smoky sauce and was really delicious, and the meat was really tender. And for dessert, I ordered the ice cream sundae. The cheesecake ice cream was my favorite. My husband ordered the lemon meringue pie for dessert, and I had to give it a taste. I'm not always a huge fan of lemon desserts, but this one was so creamy and it was delicious. The food was delicious, but the overall atmosphere and the service made it worth the trip. After dinner, it was time for some champagne on Main Street. You can buy this right outside of the Gibson Girl ice cream parlor at the end of Main Street. For €20, you can get a commemorative wine glass to take home and sip champagne as you walk down Main Street and past the castle. It is a little bit of a splurge, but something you can't miss when you're in Paris. After dinner, it was back to Sleeping Beauty's castle. The castle here at Disneyland Paris is my personal favorite out of all of the parks. While the castles at the other parks do have a walkthrough element, this one elevated the experience. There were stairs that led you up to a second level, and the theming here was so ornate and captivating. The pillars were shaped like trees, and there were stained glass windows that lined the walls with representations of different Sleeping Beauty characters. These gave a gorgeous reflection of colored light when the sun shone through. As you walk along the upper level, you can see the story of Sleeping Beauty being told with sculptures and pieces of art. From the second level here in the castle, you can also see a sweeping view of Fantasyland. There's a spiral staircase that leads you back down to the first floor, where you can walk around the side of the castle to the dragon's lair, complete with a fire-breathing dragon. As you continue behind the castle, you're greeted with Cinderella's carriage tucked away in the corner at a nearby restaurant. Walking back through Fantasyland, after our walkthrough of the castle, we made a stop at It's a Small World, another iconic attraction. This ride experience here was very similar to the other parks, and you experience the iconic theme song as you ride through the different represented countries, but this time the song was sung in French. You can also see the signature Disney characters embedded throughout their origin countries. After It's a Small World came to an end, next we made our way around to the far end of Fantasyland, back over to Discoveryland. We made another ride on Space Mountain and on the Nautilus, the fictional ship from the famed 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This one was another unique walkthrough attraction that Paris offered, walking you down into the Nautilus itself and into the galley. There were little touches that made this experience so realistic, such as Captain Nemo's work desk set up, feeling as though you were actually in the ship, and underwater. You can see the lavish styling and decor that the Nautilus was known for, and the attraction brings you into the Grand Salon, Captain Nemo's main quarters. And here you get a glimpse of the ocean life from a small round window.
The secrets of the Nautilus and consider us prey. Unfortunately, today is not that lucky day. Helmsman,
as we exited the Nautilus and headed out of Discoveryland, we passed by the flagpoles and garden paying homage to Jules Verne. By the time we were done exploring Discoveryland, the sun had started to set, and this is when you can really see another side of the park experience, really coming to life with the lighting. This warranted another walk around the park and the castle. We wound around for another ride on Pirates of the Caribbean, back to Adventure Isle, and a walk through Robinson's Treehouse. As you went up the stairs and ascended the treehouse, you could see different rooms built into the attraction from the movie Swiss Family Robinson. It felt as if you were actually in a treehouse. As you continued to climb up, it gave you an incredible view of Disneyland Park. I personally love the view at night with the park and the castle all lit up. We made our way down the treehouse, and in our last moments of this exciting day, it was time for the fireworks show at the castle. This show is unlike any of the other parks. The combination of the fireworks, the music, and the lights all orchestrated together were so amazing in itself, but the show also incorporated the use of drones to illustrate different images in the night sky, and it was truly phenomenal. And in my opinion, the best fireworks show out of all the parks that I have been to. I recommend that you make sure to catch this show when you're at Disneyland Paris, and make sure to check the show times as well so you don't miss it. I also recommend getting there early to secure a spot that gives you the best view of the castle during the show. After this, it was time to head back to the hotel and rest up for the next day. Day 4 at Disneyland Paris was also combined with a travel day into the city of Paris, so it was only a half day for us at the park. We got up early, checked out, left our luggage at the front desk of the hotel, and we got an early start during Magic Hour, going to the park 1 hour before opening. Here we were greeted with Minnie and Mickey and lighter crowds. We headed to Fantasyland to start the day to catch some attractions that we missed. One caveat with early entry is that not all of the rides are open at this time. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Alice's Curious Labyrinth were both closed that early. However, Peter Pan's flight was operating. This is a classic staple of the Disneyland park, so I always try to catch this ride at every park that we visit. The ride typically always has a long wait throughout the day, but it only had about a 30-minute wait, so we took advantage. There was nothing unique about this iteration, but it was still an awesome ride and still a classic. Next up for the day was the Disneyland Railroad. This is not only a must-do and not only a signature attraction, but it allows you to take a relaxing ride around the perimeter of the park, taking in some of the rides from a different angle and experiencing some nice added touches to the theming. You also get a ride through the Grand Canyon and past the backdrop of It's a Small World. The railroad makes stops at Discoveryland and Frontier Depot before winding back to Main Street. Next, it was time for a sweet treat from the Three Fairies Confectionery in Fantasyland. Here they have a nice selection of fudge, candy, and cookies. Since you have to consume your food Mickey-shaped at Disneyland, I chose a Mickey-shaped dipped marshmallow, which was really nice and fluffy and not overly sweet. I followed that up with a Mickey-shaped Rice Krispie treat. This was also not overly sweet, as I was expecting it to be. It had a nice touch of chocolate, and it was a nice sweet treat for a morning. After our snack, it was time for one more ride on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril. Sadly, our time at Disneyland Paris was coming to a close. Even though we were headed to the next adventure in France, our experience at Disneyland was unique, offering different types of attractions, including the amazing walkthrough attractions that I did not see at the other parks. As expected, the whole park experience was awesome and gave us attractions, food, and the visual experiences that were one of a kind. We picked up our luggage at the Disneyland Hotel, said goodbye, and caught the train into Paris. Make sure you join me next time as I take you with me into France and on to the next chapter of this adventure.